I'm going to show you why I track watt hours and why I think you should too, with one of these or something else. But I think you should do it, and we're going to get into why I think you should right now. Why you should track watt hours is because of the battery. It's probably the most important part of your PEV, bike, scooter, skateboard, unicycle, whatever you're riding on that's electric. The battery is probably the most important part, arguably. It really supplies the power. It's really the heart of the matter. So one important thing to know is when you're depending on that battery to get you to places is when it is starting to decline, which unfortunately will happen with the chemistry in these lithium iron phosphate, lithium ion. All these batteries that are used in PEVs eventually will degrade. So I use both of these now. This is a kilowatt meter. I've had this thing forever. It feels like it's been about 3 years. It's starting to be a little discolored. Works very well. It's also handy because you can, plug a bunch of other appliances, see their amp draw, current, and that kind of stuff. This one only measures down to 10 watt hour increments. So that's not too big of a deal for most things. It's fairly fine amount of control, so it works for me. This is the one I've bought. I've had this one for about a year. This is off of Amazon, Balder brand. This one's been great. It gives you a lot more information. You get finer. You can get down to 1 watt hour of precision with this particular watt meter, and a lot more information. You can plug in your utility rates. It's got a memory. It actually has a lot more functionality than some of the other meters, but I'm not certain of its durability yet because I've only had it for almost a year, so it has been holding up pretty well. These 2 watt hour meters, this one's about between $20 and $30, depends on when you get it. This one's about right under $20. So if I was buying them again, I'd probably buy this one because it has more functionality. There also are chargers, smart chargers, that allow you to charge up to a certain percentage, and they also give you a pretty fine accuracy watt hour increment when you're recharging. Of course, those tend to be at least $200, so this is definitely a more budget option. And when you start to see things like it's taking a little more watt hours to go the same distance you've been going, or a lot more, you kind of know that maybe something's up with your battery. Maybe it's a little bit on the decline. Hopefully you're still within a warranty period if that's starting to happen. And you can reach out to the manufacturer like I've done before and just say, hey, I'm seeing some degradation. Is this kind of within what they consider normal degradation, or is there potentially a problem? Usually the problems are a little bit more indicated by a pretty sharp change. So another way I use these watt meters is then I can go a given amount of miles, I can know how many watt hours it took, and then I can arrive at efficiency, which is kind of like miles per gallon, watt hours per mile. And that allows me to project. So on one of the bike rides I did, I had projected that I should be able to get about 42 miles of range. Well, I was doing a ride that was 36. And I hadn't ridden above the mid-20s, so I used this data and I actually did that longer ride, and I still had stuff to spare. So it was nice to know you can project out how far you can really go. The other benefit of having these watt hour meters and knowing how much watt hours per mile you're using is then you can try to work in that whole 80-20 rule that people have probably heard about. There'll be a video up here. I'm going to link sooner or later talking about that rule a little bit more in detail. But that's kind of the sweet spot for maintaining your battery longevity. So these can help you understand how many miles kind of puts you in that increment. It can also help you know when you're recharging how much you've put back in the battery, and maybe when you're close to that 80% cap if you're trying to keep it in that range. I don't necessarily worry about that necessarily, but it can be nice. It just gives you more information, and information, whatever that word I just said was, is great. So I hope one of these helps you out. I hope tracking watt hours helps you out. If you have questions about it, throw them down below. Give me a like. I don't know why I still have using my hand, but I do. Thanks.